Okay, number one. Uh, if you look at snipers and artillerymen in the military, they have to take into account a lot of things when they're shooting over very long distances. For example, they have to take into effect the Coriolis effect. They do, in fact, have to take into effect the rotation of the Earth, and they also have to take into effect the curvature of the Earth at very long distances. And in fact, they get more range than they from a high vantage point. For example, shooting off of a cliff than they would otherwise. If the Earth was flat, imagine there's a cliff 300 feet high, and he has a bullet that can go, say 7 miles. A bullet or piece of artillery, whatever. It'll go 7 miles. But actually, he gets about 8 or 9 miles. Why? Because the Earth is curved, and so the bullet has to fall farther in order to eventually make contact with the ground. So this is something that artillerymen and snipers have to deal with, and I think that's a really cool reason why the Earth is not flat. Here's another reason. We have different hemispheres. You have the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere. There are different constellations in different areas of the world. If you go to South America, if you go to the southern tip of Argentina, if you go to South Africa, if you go to Australia, you will see different constellations there than you would in Switzerland. Switzerland. If you ever see Kofi Anderson, the musician, ask him about Switzerland, and he makes a joke about that. He's pretty cool. But the Swiss and the Australians have different sets of constellations they see in the night sky. So there's that. If you have a flat Earth, I don't see how tectonic plates make sense. I don't see how the reason that there's tectonic plates moving. Okay, they're moving. Some are being pushed under. Some of them are grinding against each other. Some of them are being pushed over, and it just doesn't make sense. And you have to explain, where did the cracks come from? Could it be the Great Flood of Noah? I think so. But no matter what you believe, it just doesn't make sense with a flat Earth. Okay. I want to say right off the top, I'm a Christian, and the flat Earth is not something that comes from the Bible. This is an extra biblical. It's not sensible. The Bible does not teach this. It has nothing to do with Christianity any more than Westboro Baptist Church has to do with Christianity, sorry to say. Or Jehovah's Witnesses or the Mormons. Sorry. I love you, Mormons, but you're in a cult. Sorry, it's messed up. And I love you. Please come out of it. Okay. So, the Bible doesn't say that the Earth is flat. If you look at the book of Job, I think it's Job chapter 31, if I'm not mistaken, it says that God inscribes a circle on the earth at the division between light and darkness. And this is the terminator line. This is describing the terminator line on the surface of the earth, where it's sort of like an equator of one half of the planet is light and the other half of the planet is dark, and there's a perfect circle inscribed on the earth at that division between light and darkness. That's called the terminator line, and that's very interesting. And there's no possible way, I think this is my third reason now, there's no possible way that you can get a perfect circle on a flat earth. You can't, there's no biblical way, you can't inscribe a perfect circle of light and darkness on a flat earth. It would only ever be a curve, or maybe an S shape, some curvy line, but you'd never get a circle, because you can't, unless the whole earth is dark or the whole earth is light. And as we all know, different areas of the planet are light and dark at different times. So if you believe in a flat earth, you have to explain that. Here's another thing you can't explain. It's reason number 4. You can't have a half moon at high noon with a flat earth. If the earth is flat, you cannot have a half moon at 12 o'clock noon. It's not possible. Why? Well, you have to explain the entire concept of tides, not tides. I mean, that's my next point. Of why is the moon light and dark? Why does the moon move around, and why is it light and dark? It just doesn't really make sense. What's casting the shadow? The Earth? If that was the case, then you could only have. It would not be possible for there to be a shadow on the moon at daytime, especially not at 12 noon, because at that point the sun is high in the sky, and the moon is sometimes high in the sky. So you can't have a daytime moon whether you have a daytime sun at the same time, because what's casting the shadow? Is there some giant curtain that's going between? You would see if there was a giant shadow casting curtain between the Earth and the moon, and there simply isn't one that we can see. It doesn't make sense. Okay, this is reason number 5 now. Okay, but go back to this number 4. And so the only possible thing that could be casting a shadow is the Earth itself. And so you'd have to have the sun in a low position where it's starting to travel below the edge of the disk. And then you have a moon in a high position, so the Earth is casting a shadow. That's the only way it's possible. But we see half moon at high noon. We see daytime moon with a shadow on it and a daytime sun. How does that make sense? Well, I've seen that quite many times. How do you explain that with flat Earth? Okay, number 5, tides. You have tidal action in the oceans, and it's caused by the sun and the moon. If you have this, you have to explain how that works. If the Earth is flat, then who is to say how heavy is the moon, and why does the moon have gravity? If the Earth is flat, are we really orbiting the sun? Are we? Really? Are we? If the Earth is flat, is the moon really orbiting the Earth? What is the moon attached to, and what is moving it? Gravity in a void? Really? What's moving the moon? What causes the moon to move around? I don't know. If the Earth is flat, if the Earth is spherical, then we know why. Makes sense. You have gravity and a solar system, and everything is spinning around each other. But you have to really explain what causes the moon to move, and how do the tidal sequences move? Why are there tides in the oceans? And okay, Okay. If you have a flat Earth, then you have to say, okay, here's another biblical reason. The Bible makes allusions to the 4 corners of the Earth. Circles don't have corners. All the flat Earth models that I've seen have a circular Earth surrounded by ice, a wall of ice. If you have a circular Earth, why aren't you being biblical? If you think that the Bible teaches this, then why don't you have a square Earth? Because the Bible says that there are 4 corners to the Earth. Why don't you at least make the ice shaped in a square? But then it wouldn't be the 4 corners of the Earth, would it? It would be like the 4 corners of the sea. So what is it? Is it a square or is it a circle? Because the Bible says the Earth is a circle. The Bible says the circle of the Earth. The Bible says the 4 corners of the Earth. So which is it? Unless you can allow yourself to say that some things in the Bible are figurative, and they are. There is figurative language in the Bible. So that's sort of a quandary that I don't think they can answer. All right, I'm trying to think of reasons here. Okay, if you've ever heard of an astrolabe and a sextant and a compass, these were the tools that old-time sailors used to navigate around the planet. Back when they thought that they were going to fall off the edge, and half of Christopher Columbus's crew were worried they were going to fall off the edge. These instruments work by means of the stars, and they also work by means of the curvature of the Earth, because you have longitude and latitude. And so you have it has an effect on the way you navigate. And so the usage of the fact that you can use an astrolabe, a sextant, and a compass to get around from place to place does have bearing on the fact that the Earth is a sphere, and it's sort of a proof that the Earth is a sphere. And here I'm going to do some defeating right now. There's anti-spherical Earth arguments, or supposedly stumper questions that get thrown at. So that's 6 reasons they get thrown at a spherical Earth worldview. For example, they're trying to challenge the why do planes fly in a certain way. Normally they'll fly up and then they'll go straight down to their destination, and that also goes to spherical Earth as well. And by the way, I notice a lot of these things, most of the arguments against a spherical Earth are based on a misunderstanding of general common knowledge. If these people had been reading science books by DK or watching Bill Nye the Science Guy, he's wrong about God, he's wrong about creation, he's wrong about evolution, and I think he's just downright mean these days, and just ridiculous. He used to be really awesome. I loved his show. I still love him. I still love his show. He's still my hero, but he's really lost a lot of tact, in my opinion. He's really gone far beyond where, even if he disagreed with me, that's fine. I don't care if you disagree with me, Bill Nye, but you've gone far beyond where you ought to be in a personal level, and you're just plain, you're not even correct on a scientific research level, and you're not a researcher. Other people are. You just repeat what is already known, and that's fine. But I would love to see you talk to Jason Lyle or Dr. Russell Humphreys about astronomy and say that Christians are stupid. I would like to see you talk to Stuart Burgess from England and say Christians are stupid. It's not true. And so you have, alright, so for example, here's an example. I see, the question lobbed at the spherical Earth. Why do antenna dishes work? Why do satellite dishes work? Because clearly, aren't satellites straight up? So you should point your antenna dishes straight up. So, see, Illuminati revealed. You don't point your antenna dishes straight up, you point them horizontally. So, the Earth must not be flat. Or questions like, why do people use spy satellites and spy planes at the same time? Or why do people use radio when you can just use satellite? And so, stuff like that. Very ridiculous stuff. Usually these arguments are based on an ignorance of Newtonian science. So if they would just go back to the basics of geometry and trigonometry and just the basic physics of every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and just the basic stuff, just not even like physics. Who cares? Physics doesn't matter here. We're talking about if you're talking about a flat Earth versus a spherical Earth, what you're talking about is Newtonian science. That's what you need to know. That's what matters here. So we're talking Newton and Kepler and Johannes Kepler and people of that era, and it's just based on an ignorance of that, and also a misunderstanding of what the people who believe in a spherical Earth are presenting. It's a misunderstanding. It's just a lack of general knowledge and a misunderstanding of the other side. And these people are generally not willing to listen to or to receive. They don't have to. You don't have to agree with something to understand what the other side is saying. You can understand and know what they mean in an honest and genuine way without agreeing with it. But most of these people on the internet, they don't even understand what is going on here. And you can't have a Van Allen radiation belt, the Van Allen radiation belt, in order to disprove the moon landing and have a flat Earth. You say, well, I don't believe in the moon landing because there was a Van Allen radiation belt, and I believe the Earth is flat. Now wait a second. Either you believe in a Van Allen radiation belt, or you believe the Earth is flat. There's not both. Okay, here's a reason against a flat Earth. We can see that there are stars. We can see that there are galaxies. We can see that there are planets in our solar system, and we can watch them with telescopes and see them with great clarity and almost up close. For example, Saturn, you can see it up close. You can see the rings. It's very beautiful with a telescope. If you believe in a flat Earth, then you believe in a quote-unquote firmament, which they believe is a dome of water that covers the Earth and protects it. From what? I don't know. But there's a belief in a firmament or a dome. So if there's a dome over the Earth, and if you're going to take the book of Job literally, when it talks about, the windows in heaven, so we're in a dome, and there's actually windows that open and shut in the upper atmosphere, in the thing that's above this dome. There's windows, and that's where the water and the snow come out and fall down on the Earth, and that's where all the snow and water comes from. Well, either you believe in a firmament, or you believe in the planets and the solar system and the stars and the galaxies. Which one do you want? You don't have both. Alright, so you can have a firmament, or you can have planets, but we can see planets with telescopes. The fact that I look in my telescope in backyard and I don't see a giant wall of water is a clue to me that there's not one there, because water is visible. You can see water. Water is not perfectly transparent. If it's up there, it's either going to be frozen or liquid. It's not going to be gas, because then it's not a firmament. It's either frozen, in which case it's opaque and you can't see through it, or it's liquid, and after a certain distance, light does not travel through it anymore, and it certainly doesn't come out in a smooth, clean, clear, crisp image like we get of outer space. So we can see outer space. Alright, so you can't believe in space aliens and believe in a flat Earth. Either you have a flat Earth or you have space aliens. You don't have both. Okay. So you can look at planets with telescopes. Here's reason number 8 now. I think this is number 8. You can see planets with telescopes, and you can see in the telescope that they are spherical and that they're spinning. If you waited long enough, you would see that, and you had your telescope trained on the planet Mars, and you could get it up to be its very large size in your screen, in your viewfinder. You would see, if you waited long enough, that it was spinning. It's twirling around in a little circle. And so the different shape of the surface, the different areas of the surface, it's going around. It's getting around, so you'll see all of it if you waited, 24 hours and just spent all day. What if you just decided to spend all day looking at Mars? You could do it. Or look at Mars today and then look at Mars tomorrow. I think the day of Mars is not 24 hours, so there you would be able to tell a difference. We'll just go over a 5-hour period, 12 hours, from the beginning of darkness to when it's not dark anymore. You would be able to see, even in that short time, that Mars had rotated, and you would see that it's a sphere. You can look at a stationary sphere and see that it's a sphere, because of the way the shadows work, because of the way that mountains poke up against the silhouette of Mars. So you have a perfect sphere and a little mountain that sticks out horizontally. So you can see, you can look at the planets and see that they're spherical. So if all the other planets are spherical, why isn't the Earth? Good, it doesn't make sense that we're the only flat planet in the whole solar system. Okay, we can, speaking of the Van Allen radiation belt, you can measure radiation coming from outer space. Where is that radiation coming from? It is measurable, it is detectable, it is there. There is radiation coming from outer space. If you have radiation coming from outer space, how is that possible? If you have a firmament, it's not possible. It doesn't make sense. By the way, so imagine the firmament is bigger than the solar system, so you have enough space. It's just really big, wide, vast, and far away. Okay, fine. You would be able to see the planets in that case, but you would not be able to see stars and galaxies. And we are able to see far beyond the confines of our Milky Way using a telescope. We can look at Alpha Centauri. We can look at various nebulae. We can look at them. So we know there's not a firmament of water around us at any range or distance. Okay, you can see, I think this is number 9, you can see you can detect the radiation that's coming off of outer space. So if you have a firmament and the Earth is flat, where's that coming from? What's emitting it? I mean, so you believe in okay, it's possible you can believe in outer space and believe in a flat Earth, alright, and the Earth is suspended over nothing, okay, fine. But in that case, you'd be breaking your theory, you'd be breaking your concept. If you get rid of the firmament, then you only have half of your original theory left over. The first half, half of it just got knocked down. We've disproven there's a firmament. So, but you're still going to cling to the first half of your theory? I mean, that wouldn't make sense. So you've compromised at that point. But this is how originally they discovered the universe was expanding. It's actually a very important point in history when they discovered this background radiation, because it meant the universe had a beginning in a certain point of time, and it's expanding. And the Bible says many times that God is stretching out the heavens. So the expansion of the universe is a prediction that is quantified by the Bible, and nobody believed in it until then. All the secular atheists thought the universe was static and thought the Bible was nuts until they discovered that science caught up with the Bible and discovered that was true. Okay. Alright, and the last one I'm going to go to, my 10th reason, off the top of my head, is the horizon itself. I'm sorry. I have a bad cut, and I'm scratching it. If you have a horizon, then that can be evidence to you that you have a spherical planet, Earth. And here's why. Maybe, and I mean maybe, you could explain the horizon line as merely the result of objects being so far away that they appear so small, so everything comes to a fine point far ahead in the future. Everything comes to a fine point far away in the future, in the far distance, so it all looks small, and I can't do it. And so everything looks close up, and then it goes farther away, and so does the sky. And so you have the land and the sky coming into a horizon line. Maybe there's a maximum distance of sight. Maybe the human eye can only see 1,000 miles, but the elvish eye can watch 20,000 miles because they have farsight. Photons travel forever if you let them. Okay? But it's basically the flat Earth opinion on why there's a horizon is that the human eye can only see a certain distance because of angles and focus and fog or whatever, what have you. Mostly because of the way things become smaller as you go away, smaller into the distance. Mostly because of that reason. So there's other contributing factors in their belief. It's not my belief, in their idea. Okay, so I'm not going to disprove that just yet, but I'm going to say, if you had a spherical Earth, that also would create a horizon line. So that also would be a valid explanation for why there's a horizon line, because they are traveling over the curvature of the Earth until you can't see them anymore, because the Earth is physically between you and them. You may believe the Earth is flat and that it's just by, I think it's parallaxing, I don't remember, it gets smaller. Okay, fine. But you have to admit that if there was a spherical Earth, it would make sense that you would have a horizon. Are we going to go all Friedrich Nietzsche and say that there's no more horizon, no up, no down, no meaning to the universe? I don't think so. The Earth is a sphere. And that's exactly what the flat Earth belief is doing. It's questioning everything from the spherical nature of the Earth to the reason why we have satellite television. It's just a complete breakdown of all normalcy in life. It's not just about, so this is important, it's not just about the flatness of the Earth or the spherical nature of the Earth. It's about we're so afraid they're hiding land. There's actually more continents, and they're all restricted, and you're not allowed to go there. It's this fearful conspiracy. Why is there satellite phones? They're just charging us money based on things that aren't real. It's just a complete breakdown of everything that's normal in life. And it's like cobwebs in the brain. It just seems like there's this fuzzy mental state. It's crazy. It's like fearful paranoia. It's like they're all suffering from exaggerated fear. Okay. So I think that it would be a fascinating experiment to go take a telescope, as Galileo did, and stand in a lighthouse or a watchtower, as Galileo did, and watch, that is by a harbor or a bay that's in use, as Galileo did, and watch the boats sail off into the distance and see if it's true that you can see the top, the last part of the boat that you can see is the top. They were wondering about that in 1300, isn't that when he was alive? They were wondering why that was. Oh, I'm watching the boat and I can see the masts and the sails of the boat, but not the hull. Why is that? I don't know. Then Galileo comes around and says, oh, let me tell you why. Okay, so that would be an interesting experiment. I challenge you to go do it, to see if you can see it, the top of the boat last. And I have complete faith that you will. I challenge you to buy an astrolabe, buy a sextant, buy a compass, and use them and learn how. I challenge you to talk to someone who was in artillery or sniper and ask them, can you explain to me the Coriolis effect, Mr. Sniper? Can you explain to me the curvature of the Earth? Do you get extra range? And they'll say yes. I know a lot of people who are pilots. People are pilots. Yes, the Earth is curved. And so, those are my 10 reasons why. Thanks for listening if you listened this far. And I hope this will be useful to somebody. Cheers.